Go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this session. And this session, we have the 2022 PropTech Survey, the first of its kind in the world. And it's powered by LMRE and Fifth Wall. And today we have with us Paul Wakefield, Regional Director, Asia Pacific of LMRE. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, how you doing today? First and foremost, just to introduce myself, obviously the Regional Director. I look after LMRE for Asia Pacific. LMRE, we're probably globally focused within the real estate, technology, and innovation talent management sphere. And we work across the sector, right from PropTech, ConTech, smart buildings, ESG, sustainability, and strategic consulting. My background originally from London, if you picked up the dodgy accent, but Singapore has been home for me for the last 10 years. And yeah, really excited to be here today to share some of the findings that we have from our report. I think the whole purpose of this report, I think it's key for me to say is that we didn't just want to create another salary benchmarking exercise. We partnered up with Fifth Wall, as we know, the world's largest VC firm within real estate technology. I think to date they have over 100 LPs spread across 15 countries. And the purpose of this report was not only to get a good understanding of salary benchmarks post-pandemic, it was also for us to see how happy employees were in their positions and really just see how satisfied they were within the industry. So it actually pulled up some really exciting information.
Hey, so Paul, what were the key findings? Like, give us like 3 to 5 key findings that you found in the survey.
So people in PropTech are happier than most workers, which is good to find. Although most people like where they work, they're still always open to looking for new jobs. The top reason to switch jobs, as we may all know, is money. But this job seekers market is cooling fast, largely due to lots of changes in the industry and looming recession. People in PropTech are actually paid very well, but the salaries based on job functions and locations can be quite vast. And while the pay may be high, the benefits are lacking. By far, we also found that PropTech CEOs have the widest salary range in the industry.
Okay, interesting. So one thing that you mentioned before was that the PropTech industry is doing different things to try to attract people from outside of the industry to PropTech. What kind of things have they done? I mean, why are people attracted to the PropTech industry?
Well, you look at the PropTech industry as a whole, it really is, there's a certain amount of fulfillment that I can certainly sense it just working on the talent side that, employees have in their day-to-day work. Fundamentally, we just need to look at real estate and climate change. Real estate uses 40% of the world's energy and amounts to 30 to 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions. That needs to change, for ourselves, for our children, for our grandchildren. I think certainly the technology that we're bringing into real estate, some of the businesses, the changes that we're making to carbon emissions and everyone driving to net zero, fundamentally will change the way we live as human beings, both in broader economic societies and new emerging economies. I think the last report from Fifth Wall, who we've partnered with on this report, was 18 trillion is going to be invested over the next decade to drive us towards net zero. So when you think about the amount of investment, when you think of the change that's required and the people in the industry that can make that change, certainly I think it adds a different element to people's careers. We've seen post-COVID, people are looking for new things in their careers. They're really trying to find value, find purpose. And we're certainly on the recruitment side, we're certainly seeing a lot of people come from different traditional industries, maybe SaaS, fintech, banking, all looking at taking their modern day skill set and management capability and bringing it into this industry. I think the key thing to keep them in this industry is to have very clear and defined career plans, to have great employee value propositions, that keep them there, that we're spending money in the right places, and to keep on driving, especially through the government and private funding, just keep on driving that hammer till we get to that net zero point.
Okay. Now, I understand the survey is global in nature. But in reading through the survey, are there any differences between the survey results from a global perspective versus Asia?
Well, I think Asia probably gives the biggest swing in terms of salary differentiation. We find that there's a broader spectrum, and with different skill sets, there was probably an anomaly in terms of how much is paid. The other piece that we need to look at, and this is, being an Englishman, I was part of Europe when I left for Asia, but we've had Brexit, is that there's a lot more stringent border controls. So certainly we're aware of what's happening over in Hong Kong. Singapore, even before the pandemic, realized that they needed to invest more in their homegrown talent. So when you bring into the compliance and the complexities of being able to globally move people around, it probably isn't today as easy as it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And that's creating certain gaps in skill shortages. But what it's also doing on the flip side is allowing people to bring home a lot of return home talent. So previously, if you take Singapore, there was, they talk about Singapore and the brain drain and people getting into a certain glass ceiling and wanting to go overseas to work on larger projects or in faster industries. Certainly a lot of that talent, that expertise is now being brought back into the country, which, can only bode well for the different regions.
Oh, okay. So what are the most sought after positions right now? Like what are employers really looking for?
Interesting enough, I think most people would think it was commercial, looking for salespeople to go out there and bang the drum and build the brand and sell the industry. I think what we're seeing a lot of now is there's a commercial sales element to every single position in the industry. Traditionally those which were probably on a back office function, where we're now seeing people needing to go out there and look to expand within a certain client portfolio or hit a certain quota. What we're seeing a lot more investment in is data and technology. They're the two fastest growing industries for us. Even if we look at JLLT, years ago when they moved into the technology arm to where they are now, that advancement, I think technology for us is still the driving force with, where clients are coming to us and looking to build out their teams.
What advice do you have for somebody who's, say, just 3 to 5 years in their career? What kind of skills should they obtain?
I think on the skill side, I think really is where their position is going to be. And certainly we've learned to deal with the unknown. If the last 5 years has taught us anything, it was there's a certain amount of uncertainty in the world and things are going to change. So, I just mentioned the triple hat. We're certainly finding people going into one specific skill set, but actually doing 2 or 3 different jobs, largely because the company may not have the resource to employ the different individuals. It may be a startup, but certainly, getting used to being able to do different jobs and multitask and project manage different parts of each portfolio, certainly, is a skill that everyone needs. Secondly, it's the commerciality. So, if everyone looks at their job right now, how many people can hand on heart say, how much have I made for the business? How much have I saved for the business? And what processes have I put into the business to make life easier? And, again, today we've driven ourselves out of this post-pandemic world, looking to increase the market share that we have. Every employee will need, within reason, to be able to speak to customers, clients, different layers of the business and perform a sales type function to basically help pay for their seat.
Hey, so throughout the conference today, diversity has been one of the main themes. Could you tell us a little bit about like the diversity hiring practices within Asia right now?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we're quite passionate about here at LMRE, setting out specific DEI initiatives within every business. This is a bit of an unknown world. There's a lot of unconscious bias that happens within interviewing. We've certainly looked for our own lens at our business to see what we can change internally. But I think it's also helping and maybe educating clients in terms of different processes. So what's been really pleasing to see is that this is a really hot topic. Everyone's moving on. I think we've opened the remit to people that traditionally may not have been looked at, was absolutely fantastic. And I think this needs to keep on evolving, keep on improving, as we're going to see in the next segment. Our co-founder Louisa is talking with the women trailblazers. And over to the next panel.
Great, wonderful. Thank you today, Paul. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Please stay tuned for our next session, Women Trailblazers in PropTech. And Paul, thank you very much. Paul Wakefield, Regional Director, Asia Pacific of LMRE.